baby. We're having fun on a Monday in the good land. Drew and KB from the all-new Iron Jock studio. Hey, the keyword this hour for the nationwide Put a Grand in Your Hand contest is bonus. You have until 55 minutes past 3 o'clock to go to 973thegame.com or 1070thegame.com. Enter the word bonus, and you can win $1,000. Doesn't matter where you live, you can win $1,000. Who can't use $1,000 right now? Aaron Nagler probably could. Our buddy from Cheesehead TV.com joins us right now. Packers go-to guys brought to us by Rogers Behavioral Health, Hildebrand Law, The Great Taste of Miller Lite, and Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin. There is a difference. Good afternoon, Nags.
Good afternoon, Drew, KB. How are you guys doing? Hunter's there. What's up, Hunter? Looking good.
How we doing?
Fun.
Good afternoon, good evening, and
Having
welcome.
some fun.
Exactly.
Tomorrow.
How did Championship Sunday wash over you, Nags? Because I came away with the overarching feeling that though they didn't make it to the championship game, I think the Packers are better than the Commanders and would have beaten the Commanders had they had the opportunity to play them.
I think they'd have a good shot. No question about it. I think that defense is gettable. I think, as you saw throughout the contest against Philly. I mean, look, I've felt decent about the Packers season pretty much since they lost to Philly, thinking, yeah, they're in the mix in the NFC. I think they were playing, not their best ball at the end of the year, which you need to be, which up until Sunday, the Commanders had been, right? It is about how you're playing going into the dance more than I think most people would like to admit. But yeah, no, look, the Packers certainly came up short in a number of areas, but watching the games even yesterday, I'm just thinking, yeah, there's every possibility that this is a team in Green Bay that can make the moves necessary to be playing in the NFC Championship game next year. There's zero doubt in my mind.
I think they've got the talent. They're just still young. And watching that game with the Commanders yesterday, I was just remarking to Hunter, when they got it to 11, I thought, okay, there was still almost all of the fourth quarter left. I'm like, okay, we could get something here. And then the Eagles just stepped on their throat. And
they gave them every opportunity to do so, right?
Right.
The turnovers absolutely killed them.
Absolutely. And then when I was watching, tell me if you had the same feeling. I'm watching the Bills-Chiefs game. It was a really, really
phenomenal
good game.
Yes.
Right. And Josh Allen takes them down. They take the lead, and there's like 4.5 minutes left. And did this thought go through your mind? Here we go. Here we go. Now here comes the anointing of Patrick Mahomes. The only thing that didn't happen, and I'm glad it didn't, was there on that last drive that he moved him down the field. There wasn't that, BS penalty.
Really questionable penalty call that extends a drive. I was looking for it on that third down.
So was I. I was going, where is it? When's it coming?
Second down, right? And you thought, okay, now it's 3rd and goal from the 19, and you saw Mahomes escape out to the right, and
you're going to get that ticky-tack penalty.
The camera always pans with the ball, and I thought, oh, there's a guy hitting him right when he lets it go. I was definitely waiting for it. But yes, to your point, I was very happy. Call. Or something, right?
Yeah,
that gifts them first down. Call. But the idea that didn't happen, and look, man, you talk about a game that showcased why Kansas City is so great. I mean, you just have to watch that contest to see not just the players who are incredible. They are so talented at so many different spots. But man, between Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo, their acumen in situational football is just unparalleled in the NFL at this moment. And you can talk about Mahomes, who is a generational talent, one of the best to ever do it. There's no question about it. But there's a reason this team produces at such an insanely high level each and every turn when presented with opportunities to take a stranglehold on a football game on either side of the ball. They are so well coached. They obviously drill this stuff as far as situational ball. It is really impressive to behold.
Isn't it great, Nags, that they're so well coached and they always make the big play. They always come up big, and the entire country outside of Missouri and pockets around there hate them and want them to lose. So, Nags, as a guy who carries the G always, forever in your bones, had 24/7 sports media existed and had social media existed, would people have been rooting against the Lombardi Packers hard? And were they maybe, but it just wasn't organized and amplified?
You didn't know, yeah.
I'm sure there are pockets that undoubtedly back in that time who were sick of it and over
Bears,
it,
Vikings, and
whatever.
Lions fans.
I mean, for sure, that group, no doubt about it. But I'm sure, like, as far as anything that gets kind of oversaturated or repeatedly brought up, I'm sure there were people. But I also know, I mean, just speaking to not just my grandparents, but other folks who existed and witnessed it, this idea that it kind of spanned throughout the country, a real kind of admiration, not just for the team, but Vince Lombardi, obviously, and the man was on the cover of Time magazine. It tells you, like, especially back then, what an influence he had and how maybe not beloved countrywide, but certainly they were very popular in a way that, because of the 24-hour media that we have now, and because of social media, and because everything gets dissected and blown up each and every moment. Like, we're already talking about, like, this Chiefs dynasty is the greatest ever. I mean, the national media, obviously, each and every day, each and every moment. There was somebody on the desk last night, I forget who it was, but it was like, Andy Reid is clearly the greatest coach of all time. And I'm like, weren't we just saying that about Bill Belichick like 5 years ago or something? And look, I don't take anything away from Andy Reid. I think he's a phenomenal coach. But the inability to just let things breathe and having to label it instantly. That's where I think we have to look to these guys.
To that point, Mac, we have to look at Mahomes and Josh Allen like we've completely forgotten that Manning and Brady did the same thing.
I mean, right? I mean, they were the Batman and Joker of their time. Well, I feel like we're destined to do this forever,
Mahomes is 7 for 7 in the NFC Championship game.
AFC, yes.
Or AFC, that's AFC, yes, obviously. And that's going to be, I said this last week, if he wins one, he doesn't have to surpass Brady in the number of Super Bowl wins if he continues on this stretch to be considered the GOAT.
I don't know, man. It's going to be hard to displace Bart Starr. You know what I mean?
Well, okay, in your heart, right? But I'm saying if you're taking a look 7 for 7 from his rookie year on.
Look, don't be so dismissive of Bart Starr as the GOAT. It's not just my heart. The cold hard numbers back it up.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
Sorry, Aaron.
Yeah, he won.
I'm just saying. Not just championships. His passer rating in the postseason. His ability. I mean, you talk about wins, which aren't even a quarterback stat. But you want to talk about wins? Bart Starr's right there.
You can give wins to a quarterback who calls his own damn plays.
That's what I was going to say. That was my next one. That would be another feather in your cap to cape up for him. But called his own game.
Don't ever be dismissive of Bart Starr in my presence, sir.
Not being dismissive of Bart Starr.
There's so much stuff to get to with next because we have to get to the Packers news of the day. But first, there was a controversial play. It wasn't a phantom DPI or roughing the passer or unsportsmanlike. It was the spot on a key play with Josh Allen. Can the NFL, I've been saying this for years, how archaic the whole chain system was, and that there's not a sensor in the ball when tennis, we can tell within a millimeter. We can tell baseball now. They're going to have an automatic strike zone. You'll be able to touch your hat and get a review. Yeah. Why can't the NFL do something technologically that's a little more advanced than a guy 30 yards away from a play trying to see where the ball stopped?
They're moving that direction. They have already implemented some of this in preseason, and certainly the other leagues, quote unquote, the minor ones, the XFL, etc., UFL, they've experimented with it as well. The problem in football, of course, is it's much easier you're talking about tennis or, a strike zone in baseball. There is just a line. You just go and yes or no. With football, you're talking about possession. You're talking about where is the ball in relation to the human body. You're talking about where is it in a plane of existence. Like, there's a bit more to it. Now, I do think, again, there's got to be a better way than having some 60-year-old dudes running up and down the sideline with chains and then walking out. You saw it last night from the overhead shot where one dude, funnily enough from the Kansas City sideline, walks up behind the line to gain, and the other guy, funnily enough from the Buffalo sideline, walks in from past the line to gain. Like, at some point, what are we doing here? There has to be, and there was kind of a shot from overhead that could have told you where the ball most likely was, but the NFL can't utilize that, but they can utilize replay assist for other things. It's so annoying. And then Cleet Blakeman going out there to announce it. I love it. Cleet's like, I just want to get out of Kansas City alive. Yes. That was my read of that.
Well, and that and the little detour we took in the Commanders-Eagles game when they were going to award a touchdown. If you guys don't knock that off, I'm going to turn this car around.
Get me started with that nonsense. My goodness. I love how the only way you can stop that play is by jumping the snap count, which then the Eagles now will try to weaponize and use a hard count. So There are the Commanders trying to jump the snap count and getting called for an infraction. And then Hockey League gets on the mic and is like, if you don't knock that off, I'm going to pull this car over and give him a touchdown. Yeah. It's like, that's literally the only way you can stop that play. So unless you want like to just sit here and award people's points, just remove the play from consideration. Because until you do, you're going to keep getting that.
Competition committee, when they're done fixing, like putting a chip in the ball or doing something to help with spotting the actual football, because it's kind of important, maybe they can address that tush push.
You know they won't. They'll do something that no one's even talking about. Every offseason, the competition committee gets together and creates a problem. That's all they do.
The tush push, at what point did aiding the runner go away?
Yeah, a couple of years ago.
I mean, that was a penalty.
Yes, it used to be, but it is no longer. And maybe that's the solution, right? Maybe that's one thing they look at.
How about
because I think the tush push is not in the spirit of sportsmanship. Come at me.
I mean, I won't come at you because
why not just pick them up and throw them?
They're using
that'd be kind of hilarious, actually.
They're using the loopholes available to them, and I tip my cap because they
they have found a way of working that no one else can replicate that is very successful. And until the NFL outlaws it, they're going to keep utilizing it, which I think is smart.
But we're talking with Aaron Nagler, Cheesehead TV. Other things, notes on the scorecard. We're talking about dynasties as our overarching conversation today, and the way people just want to tear down. Everybody's rooting against the Chiefs to do something historic. Like what? We don't want to see what's never been done before.
Right.
And it's all, I put it all on social media 24/7. Not only was there not 24/7 sports stations back in the day, it wasn't 24/7 TV. TV went off. Like they played the national anthem and they went dark.
I'm old enough to remember when I remember when the old, exactly the
test
anthem. The anthem was played, and then the test card came up, and you were done for the night.
And you were done for the night.
Broadcast is concluded for today.
Something else to do. That was a thing. We can't get that back. We can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. Nope. But to the Eagles' point, the Eagles, I think, have a pretty good chance, as we're going to spend the next 2 weeks looking. I think the Eagles have they set up pretty well to throw a wrench into things, right? In the Kelsey Bowl, get ready. You're going to see a lot of Jason and Travis.
We are, and her and the girlfriend, no doubt.
No doubt. But Nags, one thing, the Eagles are amazing because Saquon Barkley, everybody's like, this is amazing. What 7 rushing touchdowns? Incredible.
Unbelievable.
More rushing touchdowns in a championship game than the Cowboys had during the season.
Amazing.
Stat of the day.
Absolutely
incredible.
Amazing.
Incredible. But the Eagles are interesting because they have, there's a lot of coaches that aren't likable, but usually when you get to this level, your own fan base slavishly loves your coach. They're lukewarm on him. Like he's won again, but we don't really
it really blows hot and cold in Philly with this guy, no doubt.
Yeah, we don't really like the guy. And their quarterback isn't carrying the team to the point where he's kind of disposable too. It's like, we like Jalen Hurts, but we could win with somebody else. Hell, Nick Foles is watching in a booth. We could bring him down and probably lead us to victory.
Right. No, it's sad.
They're fascinating.
It's a sad commentary. It does kind of reflect, though, somewhat the Packers fan base at the moment with Jordan Love. Like, this is my point. Like, you can win a lot of different ways, and the Eagles are showing a different way of winning. But even with winning, to your point, fans are like, oh, Jalen Hurts isn't doing X, Y, Z. Now, he balled out yesterday.
He did.
But, like, half the fan base is, well, finally. It's like, you're literally in the Super Bowl.
It's Philly. Yes, okay, they are the outlier.
You say that, but the rest of the country became Philadelphia in the last 40 years.
Well, you want to know
it really did. But that's my point with Jordan Love. People are like, well, I don't see. I had someone in my chat the other day. Is like, I just don't see it. What the hell does that mean? It. Yeah.
They're in the Super Bowl.
You can win with Jordan Love. You can win a boatload of ball games with Jordan Love.
No, what that is are people that listen to too much sports talk radio and sports on television.
Oh, it's your fault.
And they hear a buzzword and then they start going, hey, I would always do that to people. I got to get Rodgers weapons. Okay. Mm-hmm. What are they? Well, he's got to have weapons. Okay. Yeah. What are they?
Now, the flip side of that is, and we're comparing Packers to the Eagles, which is appropriate, but Patrick Mahomes didn't really have a number 1 receiver yesterday, and they are in the Super Bowl again. Like Kelsey had 2 catches
again.
And they don't. Who's their number 1? Depends on the day.
But this is my point, because then everyone will say, well, they've got Travis Kelsey and blah, blah, blah. Well, but this is the point. This is what I keep coming back to when people want to have these conversations, which is fine, totally legitimate conversation to have. But please, just before those conversations happen, acknowledge the fact that there are lots of different ways to win in the NFL. The idea that people don't see a, quote, alpha in the wide receiver group in Green Bay. That drives me insane. It's like these guys are so young. They're still upcoming. They're still developing. Maybe one of them becomes that guy, whatever that means. But you can still throw the ball around the yard and put up a ton of yards and points, which, by the way, the Packers did this year. They had a 5-game stretch where they scored 30 or more points without a, quote, alpha. Like, I just get driven to distraction when people talk about they have to do XYZ to win by copying other teams. Like, no, the Packers have a very specific way of operating. And the two teams in the Super Bowl, to your point, show that the way you win can be very diverse and very different. There's no cookie cutter. There's no roadmap to tell you this is how you win a Super Bowl. Because if there was, every team would follow.
Everybody would do it. And the Eagles were 2-2. They beat the Packers in Sao Paulo, and then after that, they lost 2 out of 3.
They had a middling start to the season. No question.
There was a lot of soul searching there, and a lot of like we talked about it with the Rams. Like, no, they were at the deadline, going to get rid of everybody and build for the future. And it just we've lost the ability to focus on bigger picture issues.
Well, I will say this: if the Bills had won yesterday, everyone would wake up today hating the Eagles.
Oh yeah. Oh, zero question. No doubt about it.
They'd be standing in the way of the Bills.
The whole country be rooting for the Bills. No doubt about it.
All right, Absolutely. Nags, let's get closer to home. Rich Bisaccia has an extension. Luke Getsy has a new business card. What's your take on both of those transactions? One surprising and one not, and it's not the order that you think.
Yeah, right. The Getsy thing isn't a surprise since he was on staff somewhat kind of later into the year as a defensive consultant, though now he's back on the offensive side of the ball. Although, per Tom Silverstein's report, it is not as QB coach. He is going to have kind of a senior role on the offensive staff. So fascinated to see what LaFleur gives up as far as his responsibilities go. But I don't think that's a surprise. I like the fact that he's been in the building before, originally brought on by Mike McCarthy. He's been in and out of the building a couple times now. But, he's worked with Jordan Love in the past, certainly has a good grasp on the offense. Like I said, interested to see kind of what they talk about whenever we get to talk to them next, probably an owners meeting about his responsibilities.
Yeah, he's not the quarterback's coach.
No, that is not his title. No.
Yeah. Okay.
Bisaccia is interesting because obviously special teams ain't been a shining light on a hill in Green Bay under Bisaccia's watch, though it rarely has been in recent years, decades, what have you. I do think this is much more about continuity and Bisaccia being the assistant head coach than it is his being special teams coordinator. Now, the worry and the trepidation, if you're a fan, is, well, the special teams have not gotten better under Bisaccia. In fact, last year, they were the most penalized team by far in the league on special teams. Now, I don't have the numbers for this year yet, but sure didn't feel like that turned around very much. And when I asked him about it last summer, he talked about, well, that's due to our play style. Wait, what style is that?
Come on.
Like, I just, to me, the frustration is palpable from the fandom because, all right, I understand that Bisaccia is your assistant head coach, right? And LaFleur clearly leans on him for a lot. Now, what specifically, I don't know, though I know game management is one of those areas. But, man, the whole reason he was brought in was to work with special teams, and that has not improved. So having him around for another year or so, I don't see how it improves the team, but I do understand LaFleur wanting some continuity on his staff, and he doesn't want to be a guy who just hires and fires each and every year because that's what bad teams do. So I understand, again, the continuity idea, but, baby, it's hard to look at the track record and say, yeah, well, give me more of that.
Now there are some reports that Bisaccia was going to retire. What is he, Tom Clements? Please keep hanging around.
Well, I find it interesting that, I think even last year we heard, there's a possibility that Bisaccia might get looks for a head coaching job in the future. And now you go 1 year later and it's, he might retire. So I don't know. The shine is kind of off Bisaccia since his time as an interim head coach there for the Raiders. But, it hasn't been productive in Green Bay.
Matt LaFleur does not need training wheels anymore. He just he relies on guys that help him. So if he keeps him around, it means the guy's helping him. But my thing is,
might not know how, though.
My question to you is, if Matt LaFleur suddenly decided to, I'm going to go live in Egypt for a while and meditate. I'm going to go on a darkness retreat and leave.
Sure. Yeah.
Which assistant would you feel comfortable? Would it be Bisaccia? Would it be Halfley? I don't think it would be Steno. Like
it's weird to
those
say
two
it
guys.
because Bisaccia is the one guy who's actually headed up a program in the NFL, at least for a little bit of time. But I'd probably feel a lot more comfortable with Halfley just because he's been a head coach. And now that he's been in the league for a year and he's a younger guy who can maybe assimilate a little bit more with these players and probably has a little bit more of a finger on the pulse of the modern game, I'd probably go with Halfley myself. That's just me.
Outstanding. Nags, great run today. New Orleans, baby. Will we be talking to you Monday?
I will be down there. I will see you guys.
Right.
I'll be walking on by, stopping by, saying hello. Can't wait.
Amazing.
It's gonna be a lot of fun. Radio Row. Let's do it.
Amazing. Let's do it. All right. Nags, we will talk to you next week in Nolans.
See you guys then. Go Pack, go.